Let's talk about family law. Hey everyone, Red Rebel Jeff Jones here, and in this video I want to talk about family law in Ireland and some of the areas of this very complex subject. Now, I am still learning about this topic, and there's a lot to learn, so please just bear with me. This is just kind of like a starting off point for future videos. I will be making more in the future on this area. Now, the family law system in Ireland is deeply flawed, and this causes much hardship to ordinary people, especially men and children. Practically non-existent 50 years ago, the family law system has grown exponentially and is now one of the largest areas of civil law practice in Ireland, accounting for over a third of all civil law carried out. That's a lot. Family law drives parents into an expensive legal process and thrives by exacerbating and exploiting hostility between parents, which is never a good way to settle these kinds of disputes. There are three major issues involved in family law cases. These are the family home, children, and family income. In 2013, Dr. Roisin O'Shea published a seminal thesis, Judicial Separation and Divorce in the Circuit Court, which provides much information on outcomes involving these three issues. She found that men rarely acquired the right to reside in the family home in only 13% of cases. Men are nearly 3 times more likely to leave the family home. That's about 75% of cases. And the victories and defeats are not marginal or partial. One estimate is that 73% of judicial separations are initiated by women. Now, this is hardly surprising, given the predictable pro-woman outcomes in these cases. The biased nature of the system is reflected in the advice given to men by solicitors. Men are conditioned to accept that women will get everything. And this is especially evident in the Civil Bill. Now, so what is the Civil Bill? What is a Civil Bill? At present, all applications for separation or divorce begin with the Civil Bill. A Civil Bill is a litany of requests by the applicant stating what they, usually the woman, want. Essentially, she will want the family home transferred into her sole name and or exclusive residency for life or a specific period of time to the exclusion of her husband. Sole custody of the children with limited access to the father. Substantial maintenance for herself and the children. Continued payment of the mortgage or rent. A share of his pension if he has one. And the transfer to her of any property in which she thinks that she is entitled to. So it's basically, this is what I want, and usually in these civil bills it's basically, I want everything. These legal documents involved in this procedure follow a fairly standard format and usually include a statement demonising the other side, usually the father or husband, and portraying him in the worst light possible. Now, the wife is actually under no obligation to have any regard for the other party's ongoing welfare or their children's needs for a father in their lives. The respondent, husband, is then forced to respond in a similar manner. even though he knows that the system is structured to ensure that she will win and he will lose. This hostility-inducing process is of considerable benefit to the legal profession, which is why it's pushed so much by solicitors. Now, there is a lot of family law, and it is an area that gets bigger and bigger all the time. In almost every meeting of the Dáil, you hear new bits of family law being added, really. But one of the main pieces of family law that has done serious damage is Section 10 of the Family Law Act 1995. Section 10 of the Family Law Act 1995 states, on granting a decree of judicial separation, the court, on application to it, in that behalf by either of the spouses concerned, or by a person on behalf of a dependent member of the family, may during the lifetime of the other spouse, or as the case may be, the spouse concerned, make one or more of the following orders. An order providing for the conferral on one spouse either for life or for such other period, whether definite or contingent, as the court may specify the right to occupy the family home to the exclusion of the other spouse, or directing the sale of the family home subject to such conditions, if any, as the court considers proper, and providing for the disposal of the proceeds of the sale between the spouses and any other persons having an interest therein. The court, in exercising its jurisdiction under subsection 1a, shall have regard to the welfare of the spouses and any dependent member of the family, and in particular shall take into consideration that where a decree of judicial separation is granted, it is not possible for the spouses concerned to continue to reside together, and that proper and secure accommodation should, where practicable, be provided for a spouse who is wholly or mainly dependent on the other spouse, and for any dependent member of the family. Now, that's a mouthful, to be fair. Law usually is. But essentially what that means is, once a degree of judicial separation is granted, the parties can no longer live together. So the question comes up of who should get the house. And since the Act says that every effort should be made to provide for the dependent spouse, the house will naturally go to the dependent spouse, which these days will vast majority of the time be the woman, because the man is still vast majority of the time the breadwinner in a relationship. Now, there is actually no requirement that proper accommodation be provided for the other spouse, which in most cases will be the man. And this means the applicant will almost always get the house and kids, and as a dependent spouse, they will get a significant portion of the other spouse's income and financial assets. Now, to give you an example of the damage of the Section 10 orders, there was a man in the Midlands that I heard about. He was originally from North Antrim, and he went to court a few years ago. When the judge made the Section 10 order evicting him from his home, he did absolutely nothing wrong, but the wife decided she wanted the house. He asked the judge, where do I go? Where do I live? And the judge said, you can live on the side of the road for all I care. Sounds harsh, but the judge was actually acting according to the spirit of the law. Not a great sign, is it? Family law is a huge subject area, and it is a serious minefield. The more I look into it, the more bewildered I get, and thankfully I do have a friend who knows a lot about family law. He's with the group Men's Voices Ireland, and he does great work with them, especially on this subject area. Now, I will cover more areas of family law in the future. This is just a starting video on the topic. Like, there's a lot of issues. Like, parental alienation is a good example of a video I'm planning to do in the future, so keep an eye out for that one. So what do you guys think? Share your thoughts with me in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear them. And if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe to keep up with my latest videos. Family law is a huge area, and it really is hard to break down and tackle it. It is the damage done in the family law courts that has led to groups and movements like MGTOW, men going their own way, who advocate avoiding relationships with women to avoid the damage of the relationship breakdown. Now, I don't agree with some of what the MGTOW movement pushes, because there is some woman hating in there, definitely. But I do sympathise with it. I do understand where they're coming from, and that's something I think a lot of people need to kind of wrap their heads around. That the MGTOW movement is a rational response to societal degradation, and something that needs to be tackled. And if it doesn't, society will probably collapse, and I don't think anyone wants to see that happen.